Hi, my name is Allison Tucker, and I'm going to be going over the ACE study, or the Adverse Child Experiences study today. So as an overview of what I'm going to talk about, I'm going to cover what is the ACEs, or what is an ACE, and what exactly does that mean, the ACE study that made this entire factor or an idea a possible study thing for scientists as well as educators. What are the ACE factors and what does it include? An ACE score and how to calculate that, and the effects on adulthood that ACEs can have. So what are ACEs? ACEs are known as adverse childhood experiences, and what they are is it's a phrase to describe all the negative exposures of neglect, abuse, or other traumatic experiences that youth may have as a child or under the age of 18. And that's really defined, it was defined originally, and you'll see that in study, but it's defined on the CDC's website. So the ACE study. Kaiser Permanente did a study from 1995 to 1997 where they surveyed 17,000 patients. And what they were trying to look up was the relationship between ACEs, that negative experience a child may have, and the wealth and well-being they are having as an adult. And the cross-section of all of these studies, 17,000 studies, was a midsection of America and included many ethnicities, both female and male. And specifically what they looked at were divided into three categories. The first category is abuse. And again, these are all experiences that a person might have experienced as a youth. And so as abuse, there are three categories of abuse that they could have experienced, and that was emotional, physical, and sexual. The second factor, which is highly common, I think, in today's society, are household challenges. Many of our families today are divorced or separated, and so that counts as an ACE. Mother treated violently, and so that's domestic abuse pointed at the mother. Substance abuse, so that could be anything from illicit drugs to even alcohol. Mental illness, any kind of mental illness, bipolar, depression, in the home. Incarcerated household member, so a parent or a sibling that may have gone to prison. Neglect, emotional, and physical. So these are the three factors that Kaiser Permanente bases their study on how it could have an impact on adulthood. So what's an ACE score, and how do we figure out our ACE score? So there is a condensed questionnaire that was developed in 2007, and the questions are as simple as: did a parent or other adult in the household often or very often swear at you, insult you, put you down, or humiliate you, or act in a way that made you afraid that you might be physically hurt? And so that is a question, very simple. You answer yes. If you get a yes, there's a 1, and overall, there are 10 questions, and for every yes or 1 you put down, that accumulates and the sum is your ACE score. This can be found on Sparrow Consulting LLC's website. So what does that mean? What do all these ACEs mean, and how does that affect adults? Well, childhood brain and stress studies have been done to see how they actually change the brain. If you look at different scans of brains for youth that have more ACEs than not, you're going to see this little red dot of their brain. This red dot is responsible for the fight or flight of a brain. And when children are experiencing extreme stress in the home, such as physical abuse, substance abuse, a place where they don't feel safe and loved, this part of the brain actually enlarges. And the enlargement of this part makes other places of the brain not able to grow, like the hippocampus, which is responsible for memory. And when you know that this memory part and part of learning in the classroom, kids that go home and experience stress are not going to remember things as easily the day you taught them. They're going to forget them because their brain is so enveloped on something else that is more apparent in their life, like going home and knowing whether there's going to be food or you're going to have a parent that yells at you. And so childhood brains are so malleable that this has a huge effect on them and can affect them all the way into adulthood. So the adulthood part, people who experience more ACEs at a young age are more likely to engage in these negative behaviors or just experience unhealthy mental and physical aspects as an adult. unhealthy behaviors like smoking and alcoholism, drug abuse, overeating and obesity, not enough physical activity. But they're also, weirdly enough, able to experience um, really unhealthy things that they really can't control, like stroke and heart attack and diabetes, suicide and depression. There are plenty of other ones like COPD that they actually have based on the very aspects they experience as youth. So here's was an interesting one: life expectancy. Youth or adults who had 6 or more ACEs had a 20-year earlier average life expectancy than those who did not. I found that really interesting. So there are a lot of resources on ACE. It's a huge study. Center for Disease Control and Prevention has the bulk of it and has a lot of links to things. There are consulting companies like Sparrow LLC that offer to come to schools to teach you about this. In Reading, we have someone who works for SCOE that teaches about it. Harvard University has a Center for Developing Child. It really talks about the brain, and that article at the bottom really talks about the brain and how the biology of the brain is different for these ACEs. So I hope this was really interesting for you guys. I know it was a little long, but I hope you found something interesting in it. And if you have any questions, I am happy to hear them. Thank you guys.